guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled My Entitled Pushy Ex-Girlfriend. Okay, so this is my first post. I normally just read stories, but I wanted to get this out there. I am a 28-year-old white male. I live with my grandmother and parents. My grandmother has Alzheimer's and very sick. My parents and I take care of her. All this is background, so I recently got a new job in March at a manufacturing company. This company is constantly hiring new people, so this beautiful black girl named Bree starts working there a few months after I started. We talked and found we like similar things: anime, games, wrestling, racing. And a couple co-workers of mine start pushing me to ask out Bree. You can call my co-workers Nathan and Matthew. Nathan said I should just ask out Bree and get some then dip, while Matthew felt we could have a real relationship. Eventually I ask out Bree and quickly comes the entitled. Bree admits to always being spoiled and constantly asking me at work why I haven't texted her. Now we work near 12 hours every day, and when I go home I have to care for grandma who has Alzheimer's. I barely text anyone, so excuse me if I don't text her when I get home. But I ignored the red flags, and we scheduled a date. Then the weekend we finally got off work and I am planning on picking her up to go to a movie. Bree texted me canceling. So, I figured, oh well, she canceled. This wasn't looking like a good possible relationship. Then after a few days Matthew asking to have we went out. Bree says no because I have not asked her. I am like, what? I remind her I did ask her out and she cancelled. And this girl says I am supposed to ask her again to reschedule. Excuse me, why should I ask her again? She cancelled on me. It took a bit of courage building for me to ask her out the first time, and yet she expects me to go through that again. I have a bad relationship history, so asking someone out not easy for me. But I eventually rescheduled with her, and we go out to the movie. I had to go pick her up, take her to the movie, pay for everything. The Bree asked to go to a vegan restaurant she wanted to try. Now this place is a good 2 hours away and in an area I know hardly anything about, is considered dangerous, and I didn't really want to drive that far. I tried to explain all that to Bree and she says, you don't want to go just cause it's a black neighborhood. Excuse me, never ever had a said anything remotely racist, and she brings race into this also. If I was racist, why would I try to date her, a black girl? This angered me, so I gave in because Bree was insisting but pushing, but in my head I was raging and considering cutting ties with Bree. She clearly wasn't the type of girl I thought she was. So, I annoyed took her there to get her food and took her home saying I needed time to think. The next day she gets mad at me for talking to another girl at work, a girl I was training and teaching, but to her I was apparently overly friendly and flirty. This girl tells me I should not be that friendly with a girl when she talks with other guys, laughing and joking every day. Needless to say, I cut things off with her there at work. And ever since Bree been pushing, saying, don't I like her? I explained how I have to take care of my grandmother, I barely have time for myself, and that I can't be texting her all the time, going out, driving far away to restaurants she wants to try, etc. And she gets mad saying I hurt her. She is the one being demanding and pushy, yet I hurt her. Oh, and it not over, she's still pushing, wanting me to go out with her again and asking me to buy her lunch at work. I have tried putting my foot down, but she keeps being pushy. I don't want a relationship with her or anyone right now. I just want to do my job and take care of my grandmother. The next story is titled An Entitled YouTube User Threatens to Beat Me Up After I Report Them for Copyright. So, during the past couple of years, I've had problems with a few entitled users stealing my content and then proceeding to throw their toys out of the crib more or less when I report them. Well, none of them compared to one that I have had to deal with quite recently. So, a few hours ago, I came across a user on YouTube who had a bunch of my videos posted on his channel, insisting that they were his. Now, normally I would have confronted him about this, but I have done that in the past to a bunch of others who have stolen my content, and all I got in return was a bunch of attitude and abuse. So instead, I instantly filled out copyright complaints for those videos and they were instantly taken down. Fast forward a few hours later, I discover that they have made an angry video message aimed at me, saying how I had no right to report them and that they were going to fly all the way to my home country to beat me up. This is all because I reported them for stealing my content. The next story is titled In Line at the Pharmacy. Yesterday I was in line at the pharmacy. Because the pharmacy was unexpectedly closed over the weekend, there was a long line. And I was in it. The woman behind decided to take a phone call and put it on speaker. So, everybody is hearing the conversation, and the gal behind was quite loud. After about 5 minutes of this, I turned around and very loudly asked, "Do they know that they are on speaker in the middle of the pharmacy?" The person on the end of the call heard me, as I intended. She got pissed. She goes, "You are very rude. You know that, don't you?" So, I owned it, and I said, "Yes, I am rude." She repeated herself a few times, and I kept agreeing with her. She got more and more pissed at me. But at least she was off the call, and I could ignore her. And yes, I was rude. Deliberately. The next story is titled "If You're Doing It for Free, Make Sure You Do It Perfectly." I've met a lot of choosing beggars in my life, but this is the first time I've really been shocked by the behavior. My next-door neighbor is an elderly woman. She rarely leaves the house, usually to just sit in her car and listen to the radio. The pastor's family on the other side of her do most of the outdoors work for her, like taking the trash to curb, raking leaves, and for the purposes of this story, mowing her lawn. Today, as I was mowing and cleaning up my own yard, I noticed that there were patches of tall grass and weeds that had been missed in hers. Well, apparently she did too, because she stormed out and started cursing and, not quite yelling, but talking loud enough that I was able to hear her over my mower. Knowing the answer, but being a consummate pot stirrer, I asked if she actually paid someone to do such a terrible job on her lawn. To my surprise, she just glared at me and walked back into her house. Oh well, it's not like I was going to offer to fix it for free, and, yes, I am definitely the a-hole in this story as well. The next story is titled "Am I the a-hole for exposing an entitled neighbor?" Family and friends have my main. I, 30M, live alone in a meh house, and working as an engineer, I decided to spoil myself with a nice sports car. It is a 2021 Aston Martin Vantage with manual transmission, for those into cars. It has only 2 seats. Since it is a rear-wheel drive car with a decent amount of power and I live in Canada, I decided to get a crappy SUV, an old Ford Escape, to use during the winter. During the summer, I use my sports car daily and just leave my winter beater getting dusty. One of my neighbors, mid-20 SF, recently got divorced and became a single mom. Her financial situation got bad, and her ex-husband kept their car. Seeing her struggle, I let her use my winter beater during summer. She was thrilled and thankful. One day of summer, winter beater broke down. Not a surprise. My neighbor was really sad, and when we took it to the mechanic, the repairs would cost more than the car, so it was not worth it. My sports car takes most of my money anyways. I live with not too much things nor luxuries except my car. I am not exactly rich. I decided to junk it and winterize my sports car. My neighbor didn't like this decision. I said that I wouldn't be paying to repair it, and sadly she wouldn't have a car anymore. She said she had a trip planned with her kids, and asked me for my Vantage. I of course refused it, mentioned that she wouldn't be able to drive it, too much power, manual transmission, RWD, and it was also a 2-seater, which wouldn't fit her kids anyways. I also don't let anyone else drive it, it's my baby, let alone for a vacation without me. She stormed back to her house and I simply donated my winter beater to a charity. She posted a long rant in a Facebook group of our neighborhood saying I am a bad neighbor and how I denied her kids a vacation. I replied it mentioning she doesn't even know how to drive a manual car, it is ridiculously dangerous for someone inexperienced to drive it, and it is a 2-seater. I told her she would be an irresponsible mom if she just put both her kids in the passenger seat, not only dumb and illegal, but dangerous, and that I have no responsibility in giving my car for 2 weeks for her to go in a trip, no matter the car. It was a massive reply. I also told I was disappointed with her way of thinking for assuming I would just provide a car for her when I have nothing to do with her life. The winter beater was a favor and she was acting entitled for thinking I would provide my Vantage for her. Everyone else sided with me and roasted her brutally. Lots of neighbors congratulated me for my decision, but some told me I went too far and should have just ignored her or just said, "Please remember it is a 2-seater, your kids won't fit." A few friends and relatives also told me it wasn't a move to do this and that I don't understand the struggles of being a single mom. Am I the a-hole for exposing her in such an aggressive manner? Comment said not at all. You went way past being a good neighbor by allowing her to use the old beater. But to hand over keys to a Vantage, mate. Nobody deserves that. Not the a-hole. You informed her privately why you refused the request. She went public, you replied, "That's fair." She opened the gate, you walked through it. Another comment said, "Not the a-hole. She shouldn't have made vacation plans around your car." You did her a favor, not many others would, because the risk of letting someone drive your car who isn't insured on it is pretty high. Instead of being grateful you helped her out, she blasted you on social media to your neighbors. Ignoring that post would have made you a pariah. Of course you set the record straight. The next story is titled "Quietly Wait Your Turn Around Me," or you can quietly wait your turn around others that you aren't going to like. There was just another post about an a-hole patient at an eye clinic, and it reminded me of something I did while working at one. I used to work front office for an eye specialist's clinic too, and because of the particular specialty, there weren't a lot of doctors who did what we did, and we had a contract with the city's jails to see non-violent inmates in our offices. They always showed up with 2 officers, and I don't remember any inmate ever being anything but quiet and respectful. We put them in the back of the office area so everyone in the waiting room was comfortable, and they waited their turn like everyone else. Well, an inmate came in one day, and an older man watched him being taken straight in. He piped up and demanded to know why they were going in before him, and I told him exactly why. Everyone else in the waiting room got it, but this dude just sat down and steamed until he finally stood up and started yelling about how he served his country in Korea and we all ducking owed him, and he was a law-abiding citizen and how dare a lawbreaker get taken back before him. And then he honestly, seriously started trying to foment a ducking waiting room rebellion over it, which the other patients were getting pretty pissed at. He got me on the wrong day, because after asking him very nicely to stop several times and restating that the inmate was not jumping the line, I finally yelled back at him to be quiet, and I'd take him back. So, I did. Took him back to the back of the office and sat him next to the 2 officers. One of them looked at him and said, "I'm guessing you're the one who's been screaming in the waiting room. Yeah, I'm going to assume you'll be nice and quiet now." I shot the officer and, "I love you so much right now, look." He winked back, and the loud asshat didn't make another peep. The next story is titled "Patient Was Aggressive Over Nothing. He Gets a Nice Long Wait to Sit by Himself in Timeout." I work in a busy eye clinic. I saw that a patient named Tyler was marked as waiting, so I marked the chart as taken, saw what he was here for, and checked that he was the only Tyler in the waiting room. My usual routine. It's a long walk to the waiting room, so I don't even bother trying to memorize the last names anymore. I usually forget or butcher them by the time I get to the front. The patients have a sheet that are very specific to the doctor they are seeing. Has their name, DOB, MRN, doctor's name and the appointment time. I've never taken the wrong patient back, even when there were several patients with the same name I called. Well, anyways, I get to the waiting room, call for Tyler, while standing at the door about 30 feet from the waiting chairs. No movement from anyone. The waiting room is packed with at least 30 people. I call again 2 times, and finally a guy on the phone says, "What's the last name?" I ask if his name's Tyler and the dude again asks, "What's the last name?" I honestly don't know, but like I said, he's the only Tyler there. I tell him to just come on back, and he asks again, "What's the last name?" Remaining seated, not giving me his paper. I tell him it's a HIPAA violation for me to announce full names, which honestly I'm not sure if it is, but I know that I'm supposed to limit FI as much as possible, and there was no reason to announce his full name to 30 people, and again, I don't know the last name because I've never needed to know it before opening the chart again. I tell him that it looks like you're the only Tyler here, come on back and I'll check your paper. Nope, he wasn't having it. As an aside, I would totally understand not wanting to get up for no reason if he was elderly, but the man was in his 30s. Finally, I just crossed the extra 30 feet and I literally have to take the paper out of his hand. He didn't hand it to me, and make sure I recognize the full name, appointment time, doc, etc. It's literally not possible that it's the wrong Tyler. I say, "Yep, you're Tyler." All the way back to the exam room this guy is absolutely fuming. I explained to him that he was the only Tyler in the waiting room, but if he wasn't, all he had to do was promptly hand me his sheet so I could confirm he was the right guy. I tell him it's never been a problem before, surely he's seen that everyone else just gets up and walks to the door to the back, hands their sheet over, and we continue to a room. I try to make small talk to shift the mood on the way to the exam room. He's not taking it, not calming down a bit. Just absolutely fuming for what? So, we get to an exam room finally after this guy's been huffing and making comments under his breath the whole walk. I tell him to sit in the black chair, he sits in one of the guest chairs that are red. I repeat myself and he huffily moves. Like, toddler huffing and puffing when they're mad. I ask him how his vision is doing, and he says it's the same as last time. I ask him if he has X symptoms, and he huffs and says everything is the same as last time. I ask him again because it will take 5 to 6 minutes to look through his chart to open the right encounter, then the note, then the detailed report, scroll through 6 pages to the bottom, etc., versus the 10 seconds for him to just answer me. At the point it's taken twice as long to get this guy in the right chair and to get through the first 4 questions that I usually get answered before I even log into the computer. I tell him we would be halfway done already if he just cooperated. Guy gets huffed and puffed again and asks to see someone else, the magic words. I tell him that's a great idea with a huge smile, under my mask haha. Leave the room and waste about 20 minutes deleting all my input from his chart. Then I ask the slowest coworker possible, literally struggles to pry her eyes from her phone to look at the schedule, to take him. She always takes patience and sits on her phone forever so that she ends up taking less patience throughout the day. She won't take crap from anybody, the biggest idiot in the office to be honest. I couldn't have found a meaner, set in her ways stubborn, quick to anger person to set on him lol. I tell her there's no rush, Doc is behind anyways. And by the time she goes in it's been 50 minutes since I left him in the room. She literally had to ask the exact same questions I did, so not sure why he thought it'd be different. I took a different patient, who was a compliant sweetheart, and was done before coworker went in with Tyler. Guy checked in at 1 p.m. and didn't leave till 4. Hopefully the extra 50 minutes in time out gave him time to calm down from his hissy fit so he wasn't an ass to everyone else in the office. If he would have just stuck it out with me and played nice plus answered my questions, I average about 9 minutes for a full workup. The next story is titled Ma'am, booking 1 room results in a reservation for 1 room. Lady comes up to the desk to check in, can already tell by her demeanor she's persnickety. Alright, you're in a king room with bunk beds. 2 rooms though, right? We're in a suite. Actually you booked just the 1 room, and our suites are sold out, I apologize. No, it said suite. Nothing said they're in the same room. Well, your confirmation would have said that, plus there's pictures of the rooms online when you booked. Can I see the confirmation that says suite? Has nothing to show me. I didn't see any pictures I booked here face to face. Why wouldn't we have 2 rooms? By default, booking an individual hotel room gets you 1 room. I don't know who made the mistake, but that should be better communicated. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.